We recently had a lot of success with our Essential Scrum Master Playbook. It was an incredible drop, and everyone in the world loved it. It's got a great set of tools for beginning Scrum Masters, for advanced Scrum Masters, and it even had a scorecard. But we did receive an inquiry and say, hey, well, where's the book for the product owners? Well, I've got news for you. Today, we are officially going to launch the Essential Scrum Product Owner Playbook. Now, this playbook is intended to be a tool that you can use to measure your skills as a product owner, to see where you stand with regard to product ownership in a few different realms, and to have a tool to do some self-measurement. So let's jump into the playbook and see where it takes us. So we start with the title page, of course, as always. This is the Essential Scrum Product Owner Playbook, everything you need to be an awesome product owner. This is just a reminder about our podcast. If you haven't heard about the Agile Daily Stand-Up podcast, it's every single day, Monday through Friday. It's absolutely amazing, and it's available anywhere where you find your favorite podcast. Also, I wanted to make sure that you saw that there's a couple of links there. One to connect me on LinkedIn and one with all my info. So if you want to reach out later and tell me what you thought about this, we would love to hear your feedback about this playbook. Okay, so why did we do this? The reason we put together this playbook is pretty simple. We wanted to make sure you had a beginner checklist for product owners that are just getting started in their role, an advanced checklist for product owners that maybe have been doing this for, I'm going to say a year or more. If you've been doing it for a year or more, you probably have the beginner's checklist pretty well nailed. And then we have an evaluation tool, which is a detailed assessment. We're going to get more into that in a little bit. But it doesn't matter whether you're starting out or trying to refine your product owner skills. This is going to be the workbook that you need in order to assess, see where you are, and in order to calculate what things you need to work on. So leadership often asks, what does a product owner even do? Especially if they're just getting started with Agile, especially if they're just trying to figure things out. They want to know, what does a day in the life of a product owner look like? Well, the product owner serves as the link between the stakeholders, customers, and the team. They want to make sure that the product or service that they're building delivers maximum value, and they spend their time managing the product backlog. So when I say managing the product backlog, they're prioritizing tasks, communicating a clear product vision to align everyone involved. They tend to focus on the needs of everyone. And what I mean by that is they focus on trying to balance the consumer needs with the stakeholder strategic needs with the technical needs of the team. And they want to make sure that the team is building the right product at the right time. Their primary goal is to deliver a high-impact customer-centric solution that aligns with all the business objectives while adapting to feedback to whatever is coming and changing. We all know in a restrictive, predictive process that oftentimes everything is given to you. You have all the requirements. You have a set cost. You have a set budget. You have a set timeline. All of those things are restricted. And by making all those things restricted, it makes it very difficult for the team to have any ability to inspect and adapt, to make adjustments or pivot as needed. So in an adaptive process, you're embracing one or two of these. Maybe you have a fixed cost. Maybe you do have a fixed deadline. Maybe you do have to deliver a specific set of features. Regardless, you're only locking in a smaller number and you're not locking in all three, and that allows you to pivot as needed. So a little more about the product owner. The product owner has a very interesting role. And I have a pretty great description of what a product owner does. And it incorporates all of the things you see here. Now, this landscape isn't meant to be scary. This was something that my good friend Christopher Webb and my friends at Deloitte shared with me and allowed me to share with you. This talks about the 4 phases that an agile product or project goes through, including initiate, discover, deliver, and release. The problem that we face is that product owners should be spending more time in initiate and discover and less time in deliver, where everything is more expensive. But in reality, what winds up happening is organizations seem to be digging in on deliver. They want to know when the product or service is going to be delivered. When am I going to see it? When am I going to be able to touch it? When am I going to be able to use it? And in doing so, they wind up with products or services that get released to market faster, but oftentimes they're not what the consumer wanted. They might match things up strategically, but the consumer oftentimes is not happy with what gets released. In the end, it's not even time to focus on release. It becomes a logistical and a cost burden for the organization. And the organization goes in and solves the problem by saying the team is spending way, way, way too much time in meetings. So, because they're spending all that time in meetings, we're going to get rid of the initiate and discover phase and solve that problem, which in essence makes things 100 times worse. But the whole idea of the agile landscape is to understand that all four of these phases are absolutely critical. And while the product owner lives a lot in initiate and discover, they should guide in delivery by providing a backlog that's clearly defined and refined and easy for the team to consume. And they should focus their attention on making sure that the right product or service gets out of the door through release. This is what a product owner alignment looks like. Once again, the problem is that we spend way too much time focusing on delivery of the product and not focused on the other pieces. Now, many may argue and say, well, delivery isn't delivery the most important part. I would say, yeah, delivery is pretty important because without delivery, you're not going to make it to the end, right? You got to lick the stamp in order to get the mail delivered. But the problem is, if you only focus on delivery or if you hyper focus on delivery, it means that you're not paying attention to the most important part, which, in my opinion, is discovery, to make sure that you're building the right thing. So, another question that I often get asked is, Lee, this is wonderful advice, but what is the difference between a product owner and a product manager? I see these roles all the time inside of organizations. I've even gone as far as to see a product owner, a product manager, a product lead, a product governor, a product liaison. I think you see where I'm going with this. So many organizations don't have a crystal clear definition of product owner, that they've used other acronyms or other names or other titles to facilitate and say, we need more than one person to do this job. Here comes the secret: a strong product owner cannot do their job essentially by themselves in a bubble. They need to make sure that they have a team of people around them that can help uplift them and give them information that they need that they may be at a loss for how to collect. Let me give you an example. If we had a product owner that wasn't extremely technical, my expectation is that they would have a line of communication with someone on the delivery team, whether that be an architect, a senior developer, a dev lead, someone who could give them guidance with regard to technology, answer their questions, and make sure that what is being requested is actually technologically feasible. The problem here is that, oh, does that person become a co product owner? Not at all. They're just there to provide input and valuable advice. Likewise, a product owner should have someone who helps them focus on strategy, maybe a functional analyst, and that person could fill any number of roles. So, what I'm trying to say here is you should have a business analyst that's hyper focused on the customer that provides information to the product owner so they can make sound decisions about the wants, needs, whims, and desires of the consumer. You should also have someone who's hyper focused on strategy. We'll call them a functional analyst. And that could be someone in a VP, director, someone who's engaged with the leadership team, who understands strategically what direction we're trying to take our product or service. And then, of course, a technical analyst that could be someone who is a dev leader, an architect who's going to give technical guidance with regard to building the product. But back to the difference between these two. If we have to boil down and just use these two terms only, the product owner is responsible for the tactical execution of the product vision within the Agile framework. So they prioritize and manage what's in the backlog, what's not in the backlog. They ensure the development team works on tasks that deliver the most value by aligning the backlog in such a way that it's easy to the team for the team to swarm to. They focus on the day-to-day delivery, and they translate high-level goals into actionable user stories. That tends to be what they do. They're in close collaboration, working daily with the team, and they want to make sure that everything is in alignment with the sprint and release objectives. A product manager, on the other hand, oversees the strategic direction and long-term vision of the product. They define the product roadmap, align it with organizational goals, ensure it meets market demands and customer needs. They kind of act as the bridge between the stakeholders, the customer, and the organization. The product manager usually focuses on the why and the what of the product, driving its overall success from inception to delivery and beyond. What I've found, here's a little tip, is that in smaller organizations, a product owner usually takes on the entire set of those responsibilities. In larger organizations where we have larger products or services we're trying to build, oftentimes a product manager is utilized. to help clarify and to help get things solid so that the product owner can then take action and run with it to help the team deliver the thing that provides the most value. So, in either situation, you're not wrong if you have both. You're not wrong if you have one or the other. You have to adapt based on the needs of your organization, the size of your organization, and the types of products or services that you're delivering. Those are the critical pieces that you need to focus on. So here it is, the part you've been waiting for, the top 10 checklists for brand new product owners. So we're going to go through these checklists pretty quickly, give you an overview, give you some information so that you have all of the tools you need to be successful as a product owner. Here we go. Number one, understand the product vision. You should always be collaborating with stakeholders to define and articulate a clear, actionable vision. Ensure the vision aligns with organizational goals and needs, and make sure that the vision doesn't live alone, that it has a strategy of how to achieve it that ties back to the product vision. Number two, learn your team and your stakeholders. Build relationships with team members, understand their strengths and roles, identify and address priorities and expectations of key stakeholders. Make sure you identify who the key stakeholders are and make sure you know the difference between key stakeholders, and interested parties. Number three, master backlog basics. Write clear, concise, value driven stories with clear, Gherkin based acceptance criteria. Continuously prioritize backlog items to reflect evolving needs and priorities. Make sure you're using invest. Make sure stories are independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, sized appropriately, testable. Do the things you need to make sure you have a clear backlog that's easy to consume. Number four, embrace Agile and Scrum ceremonies. Actively participate in sprint planning, reviews, retrospectives, and backlog refinement. Yes, I did say retrospectives. The product owner should be present to help the team understand and to gather feedback from the team about things that they can do to improve. So that way it helps everyone work more harmoniously together. They should be collaborating with the Scrum Master to ensure the ceremonies are productive, focused, have a clear agenda, timeline, and whatnot. Let's go to number five. Focus on value-driven delivery. Prioritize features and enhancements that maximize customer and business value. Use feedback loops to validate and adjust the priorities based on real-world outcomes. Even if you have to start with objective stack ranking for a large product or service, do that first, but then make sure that you switch to value-driven delivery and make sure that you're maximizing what the customer needs, maximizing business value, and taking time to analyze what success look like so that you can measure which things are successful and pivot accordingly to make sure you're delivering things that drive the highest value. Let's go to number six. Number six is communicate effectively. It's your responsibility to ensure clarity and alignment in communication between the team and the stakeholders. You can use visual aids and storytelling to convey ideas and updates effectively. Make sure everyone understands what you're trying to articulate. Make sure that there's no ambiguity. Make sure that everyone involved understands what you're trying to do. Number seven, create and understand a customer persona. Collaborate with teams to create and refine customer personas for deeper insights. Validate all your assumptions about customer needs through research and feedback. And that could be doing customer interviews. It could be holding focus groups. It could be observing a customer using the product or service. It could be surveys or getting information gathered. It doesn't matter how you do it. It matters that you do it. Let's go to number eight. Set realistic goals. Now, this one's interesting. You should be working closely with the team to set achievable sprint and release goals. I hear so many times where organizations say, oh, we want to set a stretch goal or we want to make sure the team can go even further. And while that sounds great on the surface, when a team hits what I call ideal flow, you'll notice that there's a plateau in their performance. When they hit that plateau, instead of trying to pour on more work, our job should be to celebrate that they reach their maximum capacity or their maximum velocity and move forward with that velocity accordingly. And you should align goals with the long-term vision and customer expectations to make sure that the goals are realistic both to the team and to the people who are accepting the work. Okay, let's go at number nine. Learn Agile tools. I put this one near the bottom on purpose. So if you're using tools like Jira, Trello, Azure DevOps, etc., make sure that you learn how they operate, how they work, and most importantly, make sure you understand how they're set up or aligned. What we've discovered is that a lot of organizations struggle because they don't have initial setup of their tool correctly. So if you don't have the initial setup right, it's going to be real hard for you to update later, and you end up having to do hacks to get things like subtasks, for example, and it just becomes a mess. So make sure that if you have a tool in place, that you give it one of those reviews to make sure that you have it set up correctly and that everything's in alignment and everything's good to go. If you have not used a tool that the company or organization is using, make sure you familiarize yourself with the tool and understand how it works. You should be using these tools to track progress, communicate updates, and gather insights. These tools are designed and have all the keys necessary to help you, but you shouldn't let the tool drive your process. You should let your process determine which tool is going to work best for your company. Okay, let's go to final, number 10. Emphasize collaboration over command. We should be encouraging team autonomy and input on decisions that affect product delivery. Build trust with your teams by actively listening and showing appreciation for all contributions. Make sure everyone feels like they have equity and a place at the table. I'd say it's a pretty good 10 checklist for new product owners. Now, many of you may be saying to yourself, "Holy cow, that's a pretty deep checklist for new product owners." But it's designed to be that way because we want new product owners to have the tools necessary to feel like they can walk with confidence. Now, if you're not doing all 10 of these things, it doesn't mean you're a bad product owner. It just means that you have things to work on. And we all have things to work on. Even I have things to work on. All right. This is my famous slide. Everyone always asks when I say that. This is my 777 slide. Anytime I put together a 777 slide, it's just to emphasize a few different did you know type items to help you really do your job better. So the first list of 7 is 7 ways to measure your Agile team success. You should be looking at things like team engagement and happiness, team cross functionality, sprint goal predictability and achievement, defect density, impediment resolution time, quality of retrospective actions, and stakeholder satisfaction. Likewise, here are 7 trademark skills of an amazing product owner. They're usually a visionary thinker. They have effective backlog management, stakeholder collaboration, customer empathy. I should add customer empathy without bias, decision making ability, adaptability, and they are by far the most effective communicator in the entire Agile toolkit. All right, let's go to the 7 strategies. 7 strategies to become a great product owner. You should be prioritizing value delivery, fostering strong relationships with stakeholders, continuously gather and apply feedback, align product goals with business objectives, stay updated on market trends and competitors, master backlog refinement, and encourage team collaboration and autonomy. Now, that's quite the list. That's a lot of things. But this is just another hey, if I want to carry around a little card on things that I need to keep in the back of my mind or things that I should be doing, this is just a great little one page printout that you could reduce the size, turn it into a small card that you can carry with you. Just a reminder to things that you need to be looking at and the things that you need to be doing. All right, so now that we have those, let's talk about the top 10 checklists for advanced product owners. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. In the advanced product owner checklist, we're talking about people who've been doing this job for a year or more, people who feel like they've kind of mastered the original checklist. So now they're looking for bigger and bolder things to work on. Let's go to number 1, enhance stakeholder communications. You should be regularly engaging your stakeholders to do refinement of your backlog, refine the vision, adjust the priorities, refine the backlog. If there's something that's not right or something that just feels like it's out of line, go to that stakeholder and say, hey, help me understand why this is the way that it is so that you can pivot, adjust, and get things right. Use clear, consistent communication channels to manage expectations and build trust. Make sure you're creating tools like a red light, green light report so that everyone can see all of the information and know exactly what to expect on a delivery date or the end of a sprint. Let's go to number 2, strategic backlog refinement. Identify technical debt and create debt sprints to better balance with new feature development. Don't try to have one individual work for 10% of their time trying to all you're doing there is making a minimum payment on a credit card with a $10,000 bill. You need to have the whole team focus on debt related items. Even if you do one sprint per quarter, just to get everyone aligned, identify the top 10 debt related items, get them done. That way, debt is not hanging over the head of the developers, and that allows them to better prioritize backlog items using customer input, strategic input, and technical feasibility so that the product owner doesn't have this burden of all this debt that's looming in the background. Let's go to number 3, drive rapid release planning. Create a release plan that is aligned with organizational goals. This shouldn't take more than an hour for your team to do. Collaborate with teams to manage dependencies, reduce risks, and make sure that they're t-shirt sizing things so that you can get your head around forecasting and get those forecast accuracies up to 85% or better. All right, let's go to champion innovation, number 4. Foster a culture of experimentation and continual improvement. Make sure the team knows that it's okay to try new things. Stay informed on market trends and competitors to inspire more creative solutions that deliver higher value. Let's jump to number 5. Leverage metrics for decisions. Track key KPIs such as customer satisfaction, time to market, ROI. Those things are all going to help you make metric driven decisions. Use that data to make informed decisions and communicate results effectively. There's nothing better than good data driven decisions. Okay, let's go to number 6. Number 6 is focus on customer centricity. Use surveys, interviews, and analytics to validate the customer needs and preferences. Incorporate user feedback into backlog refinement and sprint planning, and make sure that you're using tools like customer centricity to figure out what the team or what the organization or what the end user really means and what they want. Let's go to number 7. Navigate complexity and dependencies. Identify and address cross-team dependencies that impact delivery. Facilitate discussions to align priorities across teams and across stakeholders. Make sure that everyone knows that dependencies are important, that they need to be addressed, but that we're trying to reduce the number of dependencies by as much as possible. Let's go to number 8. Build a strong feedback loop. Create channels for ongoing feedback, not just from the stakeholders, but from your customers, from the teams. Make sure you have channels where people can communicate to you and use that feedback to help refine process, improve outcomes, strengthen relationships, build trust. You need that feedback loop to do all of those things. Let's go to number 9. Coach and mentor teams. Provide guidance to developers and stakeholders on agile practices and priorities. Support the team in resolving challenges and maintaining a focus on goals. Prepare for scaling agile. Number 10, the last one. Learn and understand frameworks like SAFe, LESS, etc. And this is the key. When you learn these, make sure that you're not learning them so you can practice one of them. Make sure you're learning them so you can leverage best practices from each as needed. No one needs to be locked in to just do one of these. You can take the better parts and say, oh, this piece makes sense to me. Let's run in that direction. And you can adapt backlog management and prioritization to handle large-scale initiatives based on the pieces that will successfully work for your organization. That's quite the list. What I can tell you is in most organizations I go to, these 10 items that we just now discussed are always a work in progress for most product owners. So don't feel discouraged if you're not doing any of these or if you're doing some of these and you're weak in some of them. It's okay because most organizations I visit, these are items that they're definitely working on. So another question I commonly get asked, Lee, it's 2025. In this year, so many product owners are being laid off or looking for other jobs and it's disheartening, but at the same time, I want to say it's encouraging because what I'm seeing is that there's a shift in the product owner role where there's a new set of responsibilities and accountabilities that are coming out that incorporate things like the use of AI and other things. So I contacted my friends at Indeed and they helped me curate a list of the top 10 product owner interview questions. So I thought we'd review these, not only if you're looking for a new job, but get this. If you're currently a product owner, you might ask yourself these questions and analyze, do you know the answers to these questions? How would you answer these questions if you were being interviewed for your current position that you hold right now? So number 1, how do you prioritize items in the backlog? Which system do you use? Which tools do you use? I think that's pretty important. Number two, can you explain the difference between a product owner and a product manager? That's especially important for an organization that's large and that has both of those different roles defined. Let's go to number three. What steps do you take to ensure that the product vision is aligned with business objectives? How do you make sure you have alignment across the different groups? Number four, how do you handle conflicting requirements from multiple stakeholders? So, when you get multiple stakeholders and one says, I want to move east, the other one says, we must move west, how do you handle when that happens? Number five, can you describe your process for writing effective user stories? This will tell us what you take into consideration, how you write user stories. That's actually my favorite question, I think, in the entire batch. Number six, how do you gather and incorporate customer feedback into your product? That's another good one. Number seven, what strategies do you use to manage technical debt while delivering new features? This is a good place to see if they do the minimum monthly payment, if they have tech debt sprints. This is a good idea to see just how knowledgeable they are and how advanced they really are in their product owner line of thinking. Okay, let's go to number eight. How do you measure the success of a product or feature after it is released? This is great because it tells you what customer success metrics look like to this individual and what they've done in the past. Number nine, can you provide an example of a challenging decision you made as a product owner and how you handled it? And then finally, number 10, how do you collaborate with the development team to ensure timely delivery and high quality output? This is incredibly important because I think too many people don't focus their attention on this one. Take a second right now and think about it. How do you collaborate with the team to ensure timely development? What type of communications do you have? Just take 5 seconds and think about that. All right, not quite 5 seconds. So, another question I get asked all the time is the product owner role a full time role? Now, when people first asked me this, I nearly spit my water out. I was like, are you kidding me? Of course it is. But some people still petitioned or protested and said, it can't be full time. You've got to come up with something a little better than that, or give me a reason why. So I went out and did some research and I found these statistics about why a product owner should be full time and how it makes a difference. So, starting at the left, enhance product quality. Get this, teams that implement Scrum, including proper non time based estimation practices using t shirt sizes, experience a 250% increase in work quality compared to teams that do not use story point t shirt size based estimates. Isn't that interesting? How about this one? Increase productivity. Agile teams guided by a full time product owner work 25% more productively compared to those who do not. Here's another one, higher project success rates. Only 9% of Agile projects fail, a significant improvement over the 29% failure rate of waterfall projects, highlighting the effectiveness of Agile roles like the product owner. How about we go to the last one, accelerated delivery times? Organizations adopting Agile with full time product owners report bringing products to market 50% faster than using traditional methods. That's huge. That's a lot of information, and that's a lot of reason to have a full time product owner. There should be no excuse for us not to have a full time product owner in play. And this is the piece that everyone has questioned. I put together an evaluation scorecard, and the first one I did was for Scrum Masters. And it was mixed receive. And what I mean by that is some people were hailing and cheering and saying, this is the best thing ever. Other people were saying, why did you do this? So I thought I'd give you a little bit of background. And it took me a long time to compose my thoughts. So I apologize in advance, but I'm probably just going to read this to you because I feel like there's a logic behind why I did this. At Agile Dad, we understand that measuring the effectiveness of a product owner is no small task. After years of deliberation, experimentation, and refinement, we've developed a product owner evaluation scorecard, an invaluable tool designed to help organizations assess and grow their product owners effectively. Every category in a scorecard has been carefully selected to capture the most critical aspects of the role, ensuring a comprehensive evaluation process that drives meaningful improvement. The scorecard evaluates key areas like vision and strategy, backlog management, stakeholder engagement, customer focus, and adaptability. These categories were chosen based on extensive research and real world application, ensuring that they reflect the skills and qualities that truly make an exceptional product owner. By focusing on these areas, the scorecard not only helps assess performance, but also provides actionable insights for professional growth. We are excited to share this powerful tool with you. If you visit agiledad.com/documents, you can download a free template of the Product Owner Evaluation Scorecard and start implementing it in your organization today. Empower your teams, foster continuous improvement, and elevate your Agile practice with this proven approach. So, the way the card works is it measures all of these five categories. And in each of the five categories are reflected here with a different color. And within each category, it gives you five topics and asks five questions where you would rate the product owner on a scale of 0 to 4. 0 meaning it needs immediate attention, 4 meaning one of the best I've ever seen. And as you tie in the scores, it's going to create a mind map over here and show you exactly where you are. And it's going to tally all these scores together and show you how you scored in each of the categories and give you a total score on a scale of 0 to 100. This is a really powerful tool. What we've discovered is that organizations that are doing this are really seeing improved results. Now, this could be a self evaluation tool where you're using it to evaluate where you stand and how you feel about your own ability as a product owner, or it could be used within the organization to have individuals score what they feel their product owner is doing and turn those in so that you get an overall consensus of how well a product owner is performing. Now, this should never be used to hire people or fire people, but I think it is a great tool for us to manage. So you would put the product owner's name up here where it says product owner, the date that you did the assessment, and you could even keep these in a file or a notebook digitally. And then as you progress, this is created, by the way, in an Excel sheet. So if you wanted to use the tabs across the bottom, you could use the tabs across the bottom to do new dates. So that way you could see a product owner's progression from just starting out into being an exceptional product owner. So once again, it's a great tool, and it wasn't ever designed to say, hey, this is your way to let go of the right people. It was designed more in a sense of, let's focus on what a product owner should be doing, and let's get this put together in such a way that we can fairly and accurately depict and evaluate how a product owner is performing. The last topic I want to discuss with you is something called the Agile 12-step program. Now, this is a structured yet flexible framework, and it was designed to help organizations in their Agile journey. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach, right? It's not saying you have to be doing all of these things in order to be doing Agile. We realize every organization is unique. Every organization is building different types of products or services. It's not an all or nothing approach. It's not red pill, blue pill. It encourages your organization to assess where you are currently and then prioritize areas where you need growth. So we encourage you to do an initial assessment of where you are as an organization or where you are as a team, where you are as a product group. And we want you to do that initial assessment and capture that information. Then set your calendar for 30 days out, 60 days out, and 90 days out, and come back and do that assessment again and look for areas where you improved. Look for areas where you had the opportunity to grow. The other piece that's really cool is when I show you the 12 steps, they don't have to be done in order. It doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do it in any order you like. In fact, most organizations I go to say, we're doing 2, 5, 6, and 11. Well, outstanding. Well, let's focus on number 1, right? While you don't have to do them in order, they do work better if you do them in order. So it's one of those things where if you can do it in order, outstanding. If something happens and you can't, no harm, no foul. You can continue to move forward. The whole idea about this is if you apply these things and you get to the point where you apply these things, you'll see tailored improvement. Teams can then focus on areas that need the most attention without feeling overwhelmed by having an entire list. It encourages reflection. That periodic reassessment keeps the team aligned and motivated and ensures long-term adherence and success with regard to Agile principles and practices. And then, of course, it promotes iterative adoption. Just like Agile itself, this program supports incremental progress, allowing organizations to adopt and grow over time. Meaning, there's no handbook for dummies. This is just if you start doing these things, they're going to help you be better. And when you're doing all 12, it doesn't mean, hey, now I'm Agile. It just means that you've made the leaps and bounds necessary to continue to move forward with your Agile practice. So here are the 12 steps. Identify the problem you're trying to solve and tell us why you've chosen Agile to solve the problem. So many times I walk into organizations and they have no idea why they even chose Agile. Number two, set proper management and leadership expectations in order to gain a clear vision, a North Star strategy of where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. Number three, identify and establish a distinction of every Agile role, learn the responsibilities of each, avoid role sharing, and keep teams together long term. Number four, always the hardest in a 12-step program, focus on true product ownership by creating and refining a well-defined backlog that's easily consumable. What I can tell you is that is the hardest of the 12. Number five, hold proper Agile meetings with the correct purpose, attendees, and agenda. Make sure everybody knows what's going on. How about number six? Clearly identify and define proper release cycles. Establish a delivery cadence. What cadence works best for your target consumer and personas? How about number seven? Take time to measure end consumer satisfaction and clearly identify your consumer persona. Make sure you know who they are. Number eight, enhance programming or build practices. Focus on delivering outcome-driven approach with as little output as possible. Less is more, impact matters. Number nine, enhance testing or inspection practices. Focus on consistent, high-quality delivery. Number 10, secure the appropriate tooling solution to best track status and create great visual indicators that work at every level. I put that one so far down the list because I don't want you to focus on the tool first. Number 11, identify ways to measure team success. Help teams assemble working agreements and set clear goals for how they're going to succeed. And then number 12, wash, rinse, repeat. Identify the next top 3 outstanding items that remain and address those, and continue to do that for as long as you need to. What I can tell you with confidence is, while many organizations struggle doing all 12, the more of these that you can get down, the better off your organization is going to be. It's going to help you really, really have the tools you need to be successful. So I want to close by saying thank you. I know that there's a lot of things you could have been doing with this time that you've been here with me, but I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you want to download a copy of the presentation, of course, you can do that by scanning the QR code. If you want to reach out to us, learn more at agiledad.com. There we are. And if you have a need for any type of classes, or if you have a need for certification, or if you have a need to get people involved and you want to get your teams rallied around, if you want to do an Agile Leadership Summit, we have lots of different options and things that we can do to help support you in your Agile journey to help you be the best that you could possibly be. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I hope that you got the most you can out of it. And if there's anything at all that we can do for you, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you very much for your time. And we hope that you stay well, stay healthy, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.